Let's start with that Oregon-Washington matchup, top 10 matchup. And a couple things stand out just thinking about this game. One, for so long, the Pac-12 has taken so much heat, so much beating, so much this, so much that. It's just cool to see a top 10 matchup between two programs that it seems like everybody respects. And I think everybody believes are good enough to win this game and make a run towards a Pac-12 title, a college football playoff berth, and maybe make a run still, even if they lose this game. Beyond that, what I also think is pretty cool, we're getting these two teams off a bye. And I understand that once a football season starts, you're never going to be at 100%. But for a matchup this big, with as much at stake as it is, it's cool to know that we're going to get something close to 100% of both of these teams, which is exactly the case going into this game. Should mention, Washington had two of its star receivers banged up going into the bye. Both are fine, ready to go, 100% coming into this one. So exciting game, fun game, 3:30 Eastern, 12:30 Pacific. Washington is a 3-point favorite. The over-under set at 67 points, and it's with good reason. Both these offenses are awesome. And really, if I had to describe these two teams in one or two sentences, what I would say is this. I believe Washington is as good at any one thing as anybody is in college football. And at the same time, I believe that Oregon is right up there in the short conversation, maybe with Michigan, maybe with Georgia, maybe with Florida State, as the most complete teams in college football. Oklahoma's maybe in that conversation, whatever. So let's start by breaking it down. And when it comes to Washington, you don't need me to tell you, okay? They are unbelievable passing the football. Number one total offense in college football, about 569 yards per game. And that is because they throw the ball more and more successfully than anybody in the sport. They are averaging 446 pass yards per game. That is insane, okay? So let me give you a little context here. Washington is number one in the country in passing. The number two pass offense is actually Washington State, ironically enough, which passes it about 70 yards per game fewer than Washington. So take the best pass offense you've seen anywhere in college football this year. Jaden Daniels, LSU, Dylan Gabriel, Oklahoma, Caleb Williams, USC. Washington is throwing for 70 yards per game more than any team in college football, but they also run the ball less than anybody in college football as well. So it's kind of that old school Mike Leach, we're not even going to try to pretend to do anything other than pass the football. Oregon is interesting from this perspective. They are number two in total offense in all of college football. So we have the top two offenses in college football. But Oregon is much more balanced with a top 10 run offense and a top 10 pass offense going into this game. Beyond that, and I think this is important, they're really good everywhere. They get after the quarterback. They're the top 25 nationally in sacks per game. They are in the top 20 nationally in turnover margin per game. They are in the top 10 in total defense per game. So you look at this team, run the ball, pass the ball, don't turn the ball over, get after the quarterback, can stop the run. They do everything at a pretty high level. And so when I start to break down this game, I think that's ultimately the question, right? We know what Washington wants to do. The question is, can they do it at the level that they've done it against everybody else? Thank you, everybody, for your support of the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube channel. And we do have a major announcement as major news has come to the state of Kentucky. That is right. Legal sports betting now available in Kentucky. And here is the cool part. The Aaron Torres Pod YouTube channel has now partnered with DraftKings Sportsbook and the DraftKings Sportsbook app. And as a thank you to listeners of this channel, DraftKings Sportsbook has an incredible offer for all first-time customers. First-time customers, here's what you need to know. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Bet $5 on any game. You get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code TORRES. That's Torres, Torres. All you got to do, it's very simple. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Go to the DraftKings Sportsbook online. Bet $5 on any game. Get $200 in bonus bets instantly when you use the code Torres. First-time customers, take advantage of this exclusive offer. It's an incredible deal. Thank you to DraftKings. Could not be more fired up to be working with the DraftKings Sportsbook. And I'll be blunt. I think it's going to be a challenge for Washington. Not that they're not going to be able to throw the ball. They will be able to. But against this Oregon defense, this is by far the best pass defense that they've seen all year, okay? So coming into this game, Oregon has, how about this? They have the number 6, I believe. I want to make sure I have this accurate. The number 5 pass defense in all of college football, okay? Top 5 nationally. Here are the rankings of the teams that Washington has played so far. They have played Boise. Boise is ranked 125th nationally in pass defense. Tulsa is ranked 120th nationally in pass defense. Michigan State, 69th nationally in pass defense. Cal, 117th nationally in pass defense. Arizona, 87th nationally in pass defense. So keep that in mind when you think about this game. There are 133 teams in FBS college football, okay? So the top half of that is about the top 60 or so, 65 or so. Washington has not faced a top half of college football pass defense. They are facing the number 5 pass defense in college football this weekend. Now, if you want to argue that part of the reason all those teams are ranked so low is because they faced Washington, that's fine. It doesn't change the fact that this is going to be the biggest test of the season for Washington. And then from the Oregon perspective, I think their balance is what I like going into this game. Because Washington, we know what they want to do. They want to throw the football. They don't run the football. And bluntly, they don't play very good defense. They're okay defensively, 64th nationally. But here's my big concern. 46 nationally against the run. That might be good enough. 93rd nationally against the pass. And I just told you who their opponents were, okay? Arizona, Cal, Michigan State, Tulsa, Boise. None of those are elite pass offenses. So now you're going up against an Oregon team with Bo Nix that can run the football. You can't load the box, but at the same time, you can't drop back into coverage either because they're so balanced. And beyond that, Oregon is very similar to Washington in the perspective that they have multiple guys that can beat you. That was one thing Dan Lanning talked about going into this game at his Monday press conference. He said when it comes to Washington, usually when you plan for a team, there's one or two guys that you feel like if you could take that guy out of the game, you have a good chance to win. Well, with Washington, they have 3 or 4. And with Oregon, how about this? They have, I believe the stat is 7 different receivers that have at least 10 catches this year. So they distribute the ball, they run the ball, and most importantly, they play defense. And so if you're asking me who I'm picking in this game, I know they're going on the road. I know it's going to be a challenge, but I like Oregon to win this game outright in Seattle. Couple last thoughts on this one before we move on to USC Notre Dame. One, keep an eye on the weather, okay? As of right now, it's supposed to be in the 60s. It's supposed to be a little bit drizzly, not pouring rain, but that certainly isn't advantageous for a team that throws the ball as much as Washington does. Second thing I can't help think about with Washington, the last 6 halves of football, they have not been great, okay? So if you remember going into the bye, they played Arizona, they win by a touchdown. But keep in mind the game before that against Cal, okay? Everybody remembers that they destroyed Cal. But in the second half of that game, they were actually outscored by Cal 20-14. Now, it didn't end up mattering because they were up by so much at halftime. But they've really played about 6 straight halves or 6 straight quarters, 3 straight halves of good but not great football. Again, I'm rolling with Oregon. I'll say final score 38-34. Oregon beats Washington at Washington. By the way, that's a very similar score to the game in Eugene last year that Oregon lost when Bo Nix got hurt late in the game. Give me Oregon to win the game outright.